Okay, guys, so in this lesson, we're going to have a look at trends and starting off with your moving average. Okay, so what does it mean when we say we are looking at a moving average? So when we work with a moving average, effectively what we are doing is we are taking a trend, and this trend has got specific values and value points, and instead of having a jagged irregular line, we want to smooth it out. And the way we smooth this line out is by taking an average. So for example, if you look at these 3 points, let's put some data to it. Let's say this is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and 60. And then this data point would be roughly 35, roughly 45, and that one would also be roughly 45. So we've got 35, 45, and 45, and we can see that the line is irregular. And I'm just using this segment. So then what we do is we take the 3 of them together and we say 35 plus 45 plus 45 gives us 90 plus 35 is 125, and then we say 125 divided by 3 will give us 41.7. So now, instead of having a jagged line, we know that the average between these 3 in the middle, because it's the average, would be 41.7. So now you will see that this line all of a sudden is less jagged when it goes through that point. It actually becomes a straight line. So guys, that is exactly what we're going to do, except we're not just going to do it for the points that are standing out. We're going to do it for the entire line, and we're going to get a moving average for the entire line. Now guys, there's a few things we need to understand and look at, and that is how many periods are we looking at for the moving average. So for this one we looked at 1, 2, 3 periods, and the advantage of that is that it falls exactly on a specific period. Because there's 3, the middle of them would be the second. So we've got 3 period moving averages, 2 period, 5 period, 4 period. The essence is that it has to fall on a existing point. And you will see the reasoning for this a bit later when we start working with seasonality. So first off, let's have a look at the example that we've got in the textbook, and the data that's given to us is period 1, 2, 3 for 2008, 1, 2, 3, and so on, and the amount of claims that has been done. So all that they've done is they've transposed this table to look like this, so that they've got the periods down as rows and not as columns, and they've got the claims. And then they start calculating the 3 period moving average. So you will see what they do here is they take the first 3 periods, and that is 7, 3, and 4, and they add them together and they divide them by 3. And that point of 5 corresponds exactly with point 2. Okay, so, and then they do the exact same. They take the next 3, which is 3, 5, 9. They add them together, they divide them by 3, and they get a new value point. And then the same for the next 3, which is 5, 9, 7, 5, 9, 7. and they get a new data point of 7. And so it goes on for all of them, but just take note that you lose the first data point and the last data point. So your data set becomes smaller when you start doing moving averages, because you can't do it for that data point because there's no preceding value, and here you've got no succeeding value on the last point. So guys, that's how you calculate your moving average. It's quite simple arithmetic. And then over here, what you will see is you will see the jaggedness of the round dots in your textbook of what it was like, and you will see how smooth it becomes, first with a 3 period and then with a 5 period moving average. It just smooths out the jaggedness or the irregularness of the moving average. Now, the next thing is, when we start looking at moving averages, they can ask you to do, for example, a 4 period moving average. Now, if we look at that, we will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we've got a 4 period moving average. So what I've got here is I've got 8 periods, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the question is to calculate a 4 period moving average. So again, let's just put some data to it so that it makes sense to all of us. 60 and 70. And let's put the data points on the points. So that should be 10, that is 20, that is 25, that is 40, that is 35, that is 50, 60, and 50. Okay, so now we want to smooth this line out. So what we can see is the line is not a perfectly straight line. It is to some extent irregular, especially where you can see it takes dips. So now what we want is, they're asking us for 4 period moving average. How do we get that? Is we take 4 periods, first 4. So let's just jot this down and say your period 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and that is 10, 20, 25, 40, 35, 50, 60, and 50. So you'll see these values and those values correspond. So now we say we want the first 4, that is those 4, that is these 4. And that will give us 10 plus 20 plus 25 plus 40 is 95 divided by 4, and that would give us a midpoint of 23.75. Alright, now guys, the problem is that this 23.75 will fall between period 2 and 3. As you can see, it is between period 2 and 3. Now that is a problem. As I said earlier, it has to correspond on a period. So if we take the average of 4 or any even number, it will fall there at 23.75. So that is our point of 23.75. But this is a problem. We need to get this what they call centered. So how do we center this, the averages, so that it corresponds directly with periods? Okay, so how we do that is we almost duplicate our work. And what I mean by that is we take the next 4, which would be these 4. The next 4 is 20 plus 25 plus 40 plus 35 divided by 4 is 30. So we will see that our next 4 period moving average is between period 3 and 4, and that is 30. So between there and there is 30. So 30, and it falls between those two. Now what we want to do is we want to get the average of these 2 points, of that 30 and this 23, so that it will coincide with our period 3. So that's what I said by it's a lot of duplication. So now we take this one and this one to get a value for period 3, and that value would be 23.75 plus 30 divided by 2, and that would give us 26.875. 26.875. And guys, if you look at your table in your textbook, table 15.6, that is exactly what they will show you. It's just different values, but you will get your uncentered 4 period moving average, and then your centered 2 times 4 period. Why 2 times? Because that is our first 4 period, our second 4 period, so it's 2 times 4 period. And then for period number 3, we've got a value. And you will do exactly the same for period number 4, where you will take these, those, get a value, and take that one and this one and get a value. Okay, so guys, that is your moving average trend lines. I will, in the next video, talk about your regression trend. We've got a value, and you will do exactly the same for period number 4, where you will take these, those, get a value, and take that one and this one and get a value. Okay, so guys, that is your moving average trend lines. I will, in the next video, talk about your regression trend line.